everyone, Sherry Canino here, and welcome to the StencilGirl creative team in Tim Holtz blog hop. Starting off, I'm using a distress tag by Tim Holtz, and it has not had anything done to it. I'm using the aged mahogany distress crayon in a stencil called New Orleans. Using the distress crayon with a baby wipe, I added some to a little piece of paper. It's the back of the deli paper that's slippery, and now I'm just wiping it through my stencil. Now I'm adding some white gesso to the top of that. I dry that with my heat gun to set it. And then I go back in with some more distress crayons, Wild Honey and Forest Moss, and I'm just adding some color to the background. I pull out my Ferns 6 stencil, and instead of using a baby wipe, I'm using a sponge that I've wet because this particular stencil has a lot of little parts that will catch your baby wipe, and if you use a little sponge, it works perfect. Blending out the edges a little bit with the baby wipe as well. I go back in with my baby wipe and the New Orleans stencil and add just a little bit more of the aged mahogany. This gives you a really nice layered look. The second tag that I'm working on has already been gessoed and dried. I'm just applying some of the distress crayon colors to the background. Then I wipe out the edges with a baby wipe. Pull out my next stencil, which is called MB Makes Marks Marker Stencil, and I wipe through the stencil with the baby wipe. Now I'm using large diamond 6 stencil, again with a baby wipe, and I'm adding the distress crayon to the baby wipe off of the back of my deli paper. Wipe through this stencil and it really gives a super nice look. Third tag. Again, this one has nothing done to the background. Using my large diamond 6 stencil and just applying some distress crayon with a baby wipe through the stencil to the background. Now I'm offsetting the diamonds that I've just done, and I'm going to use a different color to create a nice shadowed look. MB Makes Marks Marker Stencil, and I'm just applying again with a baby wipe through the top some of the, I believe this color was the picked raspberry. I've applied some white gesso over the top, and then I've used my heat gun to dry it, and now I'm going back in with some more color. I'm adding it right to the tag, specifically in the area where I'm going to put this wing, and this is called Baby Angel Wings. Again, I'm using my sponge, just dampening a little bit, and swiping through this stencil to get some nice visual texture. Now I'm going back over and I'm adding another layer because I want this to be a little bit dimensional. So I'm adding some of the picked raspberry to this stencil in the background. I blend it out a little bit with my sponge, and ooh, yum. Check that out. back in with my New Orleans stencil and swiping through with a baby wipe. Then I blend out a little bit because I don't want such stark, harsh lines from the crayon, so I kind of just wipe it a little bit. I dry that with my heat gun, and now I'm using the Halloween stencil, which is one of my favorites. And I'm doing the little cat that's on there. And the black that I used was not popping enough for me. So I thought, what if I added just a little bit of gesso to the Distress crayon, and boom, it worked perfect. Now I'm using the large diamond 6 stencil again and just adding some of the diamonds on there just to give it a nice little harlequin look. I add some of the black Distress crayon in just a nice scribble in one particular spot, and then I swipe through with the baby wipe the word boo. Love, love, love that look. Now I'm working in my art journal because I want to show you guys how amazing these Distress crayons work in an art journal. I'm just randomly adding some colors that I like to the background. Just blending them all in a little bit. And seriously, this takes like seconds. I didn't even want to say minutes. Now I'm taking my MB Makes Marks marker stencil and I'm blending through the stencil with a baby wipe. This gives such an amazing look. Now I did lay down some gesso and dried it first with an old store card on both pages. This just helps the Distress crayons blend and move a lot more easily. Now I'm going back in with my baby angel wings stencil, and I stencil them by swiping through with a wet baby wipe. And now I'm using the white Distress crayon, which is called Picket Fence, to go around the outside and kind of just create that illusion of, you know, like misty kind of angel wings. Now here is where I had some real fun. I layered the black Distress crayon, which is called Black Soot, then the Hickory Smoke, and then the Picket Fence. And I did this in various places on my background, and I used the Listen stencil to wipe through with a baby wipe all over my background. And look at the visual texture that that gives and how nicely it blends out. And when you layer these 3 colors, you get a nice variegated look. So it's kind of like a shadowy blended out look, and I love the results. With just some little bits of ephemera and different things from the Tim Holtz line just to finish off my little tags. And I'm using his Distress Collage medium to glue them down. On the one with the baby angel wing, I felt it was a little bit too white for my liking. So I went in with the Collage medium in Vintage, and let me tell you, this really, it's hard to see it on camera, but wow, it gives it a really nice vintage look. And this is one of my favorite tags. I went in on each one of my tags and just gave them all a little edge. Enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and leave me a comment. I read everyone's comments and I always respond back, and I love them. They mean so much to me. Thank you guys for sharing your time with me, and I hope you all have a fabulous day. Bye!